inside the machine. Is it already over? Is it already over? I don't think it's over. All right, good evening. Welcome to this Wednesday night live stream. Plans had to change a little bit. Lucretia Hughes was supposed to be with me tonight. I believe that they got broke down, had some car trouble, so she's going to have to reschedule. So our prayers go out to Lucretia and Dave. Hopefully they're okay. And they just, like I said, it just happened. So again, we'll welcome Lucretia Hughes back on another show night. So tonight I'm doing it solo, and I've just decided to go ahead and tackle this data center issue because it's been hot and heavy on my mind. So we're going to go through a few things tonight that I have been kind of researching over and trying to make sense of everything that involves data centers. So of course, anybody that's watching out there, you can come into the comments tonight and we can explore this sort of together, because this is not just a show about absolutely no data centers. We already have an absolute ton of data centers everywhere. This is trying to understand the future and what does data centers mean? How does this technocratic revolution that we're going through, this information and artificial intelligence, how is it going to affect us as humanity? And I'm not going to try to just go doom and gloom about this. I really want to hear, because I think that we don't understand a lot of these issues involving data centers. But the problem is that the further in research that I go about these data centers, and the more I realize that the questions that are begged to be answered are not being answered. And it's kind of like the general consensus is suck it up, buttercup. This is where we're going. So I guess we're going to have to be prepared for it. And believe me, I'm sure that a lot of us are wanting to put up a fight, and we have not got that proverbial boot kind of stomped down on our neck yet. But George is making real progress in this fighting back against these data centers in our rural communities that are strategically placed. So at some point the boot's going to come down because we know that our state government is pushing these, and I'm going to show you that tonight. So again, this is an open discussion on data centers, and we're just going to kind of roll with it, because I've been going through a lot of information on these things, and a lot of people are sharing stuff. Lee Munns, who ran for the PFC position and didn't make it through the primary, he's been hot and heavy on sharing the information about data centers, and it's been good information. And I don't even think that he's tackling this from a standpoint of for or against. It's just sharing information. But if you remember that we went through a show not too long ago with Ann Eubank and Amanda Prettyman, and we kind of covered some of this stuff. But even as myself, as I'm going through trying to figure out more about this, and again, I just keep coming to the same things over and over again, and it's just kind of wild, man. We got to figure this thing out, because they're going to be everywhere, and they already are everywhere, and they're huge, and they're planning for a lot of power and a lot of water, and so that's where we're going to come to tonight. And I'm bringing up my browser here. Let me go ahead and get that ugly bug off. Okay, so we're going to be playing a lot of video tonight, because shut this down a little bit. But, you know, a lot in my circles, a lot of people are asking about these data centers. And let me, I have a little bit of an uptick on data centers because I worked in the union for a few years. I had a lot of friends that worked on data centers up in Virginia, Kentucky, upper Tennessee, all these places. And, you know, they made a ton of money. I'm talking about they were always talking about, oh, man, you got to get on this Google Center, all this stuff, and you're going to make tons and tons of money. And it was like something that was real enticing to be on the road. It's like, wow, you can just make money hand over fist, right? Crap, I got to get that off of there. You make money hand over fist, and, you know, just sign up and do it. And the money that they're paying, these data centers are paying for the land, you know, millions of dollars over price. And the very fact that the alarm bells go off in my head because it's such a secretive thing. You don't know what company is coming in or what type of data center, and they pretty much get all of their ducks in a row before the public ever even knows about it. And they've been just trying to slip these things in. And people are like concerned about it. And so we start seeing all these news reports about Virginia and Phoenix, Arizona, and Texas. And it's like, wow. And to be honest with you, the data centers didn't even kind of get on my radar in Georgia until I read a report about Brian Kemp, our governor, saying he wanted Georgia to be the #1 data center state in the union. And now they've got these salesmen going out and pitching these things at most groups that don't even care about a data center. And then we find out about these 30,000-acre industrial zones that they're going to be putting data centers in around Metro Atlanta. But then all of a sudden we're getting speckled everywhere in the rural communities, all everywhere. And we're being inundated. And so the at first glance, oh, you're just a rabble-rouser, you're a troublemaker, you're asking questions about a data center. Don't you realize? And this is for national security and artificial intelligence. It's like, hold on here. Because the future of AI and sentient artificial intelligence and transhumanism is not predicted to be a great thing for humanity, right? It could be a great thing for corporations and cloud storage and all your pictures and this stupid podcast we're doing here. But again, it does not bode well for, you know, going out and touching grass and humanity. So I'm open to somebody that has some information that can help us change our mind on this. But anyway, so here we go. So I wanted to start right here, and I'll just play just a little of this. It's a 2-minute video, but we're going to bring this up. What is a data center? All right, now I looked all over the place. What is the data center? And I think this video is from 4 years ago. This is 4 years ago. So this is how long this stuff's been around. But here we go.
A Google search, a YouTube video, a connected Nest device, and hundreds of Google Cloud services all give you a response in a fraction of a second. But what really happens when you click search, send a request, or say, "Okay, Google"? Well, your message travels over the public internet and into Google's global fiber network. Millions of these requests or packets of data travel through miles of cable over land and undersea, converging at one of the many data centers we operate all over the world. But besides delivering quick results back to you, what exactly is a data center? A data center is a building with powerful computers used to run a company's services. It's where information is processed and made available. Data is stored, managed, and disseminated across these computers. And network infrastructure is installed to support web apps, databases, virtual machines, and more. Often, organizations start with their own modest buildings made up of a few server racks, which requires maintaining these systems, paying for cooling, and handling increasing demand. So, many companies look to a cloud services provider like Google Cloud. These providers' data centers have evolved into large campuses of multiple buildings. Hyperscale data centers, made up of tens of thousands of servers, process big data, support cloud computing, and serve billions of users for services like Chrome, Maps, Gmail, Search, and Google Cloud.
Okay, so that's enough of that one for now. So this was a video from 4 years ago about data centers. So it's nice and pretty and everything's great and data centers and the Google Cloud and Hub and they've evolved into these massive buildings, these massive multiple layer buildings with huge electronic servers and computers that store all these things. And at first glance, it kind of reminds me of a small business. I'm running everything here. I don't obviously have a server. But again, as we transmit this podcast, we're transmitting to these servers. And it's been around for quite a while, and the information is being recorded and stored. And we've talked about it before. You have your digital self, and then your digital self lives in this cloud, and blah, yada, yada. So I can understand needing a data center. Okay? I mean, I get it. You need a data center. You need a place to store all this stuff. But as you can see, the first alarm bell that rings in my head is, okay, they've turned into these huge building complexes of servers. Like, so you start asking yourself, okay, how much data center do we need, right? Like, what exactly are we doing with all these large buildings? We're talking about acres and acres of buildings, all right? And it just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving. These things have been built now for several years all over the place, and I think now, and I'll show you, we're starting to see some of the effects on them, But as I'm digging, I'm like trying to find positive things about data centers. So I showed you that video. Let me go to the next video, which is this is 6 months ago. So you saw that first 4 months ago, and now I'm going to show you a video from 6 months ago, basically what is a data center. So we can all get a clear understanding here of what we're talking about.
Is a data center. A data center houses rows of computers and equipment for storing, processing, and transmitting data. They typically have few windows and extra security, including cameras and sometimes biometric screening. The computers need a lot of electricity to operate and to keep the equipment from overheating. That also requires more electricity and huge amounts of water for elaborate air conditioning. The International Energy Agency says one large data center uses the same amount of electricity as it takes to power 400,000 electric cars. Tech companies are increasingly using their data centers to train and operate.
Okay, I'm going to go back just a second, and I want I want you to see that again, okay? Why am I a little excited about this? Here we go. We're going to play that again.
More electricity and huge amounts of water for elaborate air conditioning. The International Energy Agency says one large data center uses the same amount of electricity as it takes to power 400,000 electric cars. Tech companies are increasingly using their data centers to train and operate artificial intelligence systems.
Okay, so the difference between now and 4 years ago, a data center was just being used for your Google Maps and your search engines and blah, yada, yada. Now, 400,000 electric vehicles. Now make that make sense in the fact that we just got done with a Biden presidency with mandating electric vehicles, and we didn't know how we were going to charge these electric vehicles, right? Very limited amounts of power supply, and if you were to get rid of fossil fuels and put everybody on an EV, what would happen? Well, the power grid would go down. That's what we've been sold this bill of goods for a long time. You can't put everybody on electronic vehicles or electric vehicles because you're gonna drain the power grid. And you see my point? Okay, so you can't do that. But we're putting in a data center that requires enough power to run for 400,000 electric vehicles. Now, this is not my words. This is me searching for something that I can wrap my mind around about what are these things, right? You see what I'm trying to say to you. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense, right? So that's just an example of two videos that I found about data centers. Now, I live out in the rural county, small town underground, right? And obviously this concerns me. And I see counties around me that are getting, 2 data centers here, 1 data center here, possibly a second data center, third data center. And I'm thinking to myself, how many data centers do we need? Like, what is the deal? If you've got, well, I'll go over the numbers in a minute, but Georgia has, as of about 2 weeks ago, 156 data centers. Okay? I'll show you the numbers here in a minute. We're number 6 in the nation of data centers. And at the rate we are going in Georgia, they complete 1 to 2 data centers a month. Now, I don't know about you, but like, again, make it make sense. Because when you ask your authorities, when you ask your commission boards, they don't know how to answer the question. It's where you get looked at as some rabble rouser. They can't answer the questions about the power and the money. They just say, we're going to take care of it. Georgia Power is going to be all right. Don't worry about your water. But we're strategically placing these things all over the place. So that's very strategic about it. And I wish I could play all this other video of the salesman. But none of this makes sense. 156 in the state of Georgia. So technically, guys, there's 159 counties in Georgia. We have 156 data centers. I mean, just doing simple common sense math off the top of my head, well, that could mean a data center for every county, right? How many data centers do you need? So it's a little bit alarming to me because they're building 1 to 2 a month. So I'm going to cover the next video. This one I'm going to start at about 6:30. This was it's called, hang on, let me pull it up here for you. This was from actually Georgia, from the Rotary Club, I believe. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I got a little bit of a head cold. This was in Floyd County at the Rotary Club. I'd like to know how many people in that room actually even gave a crap about a data center. But here we go. This guy is from UGA. I do recommend you watching this video because it's by far has the most information about data centers and where they're going with it. Yada, 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 the specific focus in Georgia, okay? But I'm going to start right here and give you some numbers. All right, here we go. Let me make sure. I think I got all my volumes up.
Virginia for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But you can see, in 12 states, we got about 2/3 of the data centers in the country, just in those 12 states. Georgia is what, 2, 4, 6, number 6 in the country. We've got about 156 of them. Generally, there's 1 or 2 added every month or so.
Okay, you heard that. That was from Mr. Mann, the guy that is going around Georgia, that is getting paid, I think, to go around the nation to explain data centers. Why we need data centers. Like, doggone it, why do we need so many? Well, so Georgia's number 6. He said we have 156 in Georgia as of about a month ago, and we're building 1 to 2 every month. And it's like, geez, man. Okay, well, let's slow down just a second here. What's the rush? What's going on here? We don't even understand these things. That sounds to me like a whole lot of data centers, right? To house what? Google Photos, podcasts? I mean, no. It's more, as I showed you. 4 years ago, that's all what it was all about. But what it's really about is artificial intelligence. Training artificial intelligence becoming sentient, using all these data centers. I feel like the implications are far worse, in which we will cover that moving forward. But I'm going to skip a little bit to around the 14-minute mark, and I highly recommend this. Like I said, I'm not throwing this guy under the bus, but it's something that I can't, wrap my mind around it. I want you to look at this U.S. industrialization. It's showing you exactly where we're going. What is that? Mechanization, electrification, automation, and now information. So let's see what he has to say.
Stuff like this to students to do something that looks more eye-appealing, but this is just how I think of things, and you can see the complexity of square boxes with words in it. That's about as far as I can go. But this is how we did stuff. We mechanized our economy, our industrial base. We electrified it. We automated it. And then we informationalized it. That's what we did over the course of about 200 years. Now, the countries that did this and that did it well and sought to be competitive, they became competitors in the global arena. The countries that did it best, that's us, became global superpowers. And that's where we stand today because of just those four little simple boxes. If we look at the power sector and how things have progressed since World War II, the only reason I put...
Now, there's a lot of stuff in here. And like I said, this guy's, he's got it down pat. He's selling it to us. And he goes on to say that, face it, artificial intelligence is the next revolution. It's not my words. It's not what I'm telling you. That when I talk about the technocratic revolution, it is the truth. Digital currency, artificial intelligence, all of this stuff getting hooked into the matrix, man, whatever you want to call it. But it is upon us now. And so, you know, he goes on to talk about how it's national security. And the reason, and I'm going to skip over some of that because I'm going to do a far more in-depth video on all this stuff and lay out a bunch of stuff. I wasn't really prepared tonight to do this, but it's on my mind so heavy. But again, China is about 15 years ahead of us, okay? They are about 15 years ahead of us in this global race to artificial intelligence. Russia is out there doing the same thing. And guess what? While we were sitting over here with social justice warriors and liberalism and global climate change and carbon taxing and blah, yada, yada, well, China, they didn't count in any of that. They're a communist nation, and so basically what they're saying is, well, China's had a 15-year jump on America and Russia because we've been over here doing all these color revolutions, and we've been going over and pissing in everybody's Wheaties and making everybody enemies. And so they were just over there just building coal plant after coal plant and nuclear plant after nuclear plant, and they have a subservient population because they are a communist boot stomp nation. They're 15 years ahead of us, and everything from artificial intelligence to algorithms, facial recognition, all of these things. They literally have their society on lockdown to a point to where if you literally get caught jaywalking or something of that nature, you can be seen 5 miles away and your facial recognition will show up and you won't even be able to go into a store. Or the famous video that I've talked about for a couple years now about Chinese people like trying to get on a subway and their facial recognitions are being scanned, and if they don't smile at the camera, the gates will not unlock and let them onto the subway. So that's where China's at right now. So one begs the question, well, what is going on in America? Is that the kind of nation that we're trying to become? So we're competing with data centers and artificial intelligence and all this crazy, crazy stuff. Is that our future, right? A lockdown civil society, blah, yada, yada, throw everything out the window, right? And that's just one aspect of it you have to ask yourself, right? Because, again, 156 data centers in Georgia alone, and we're number 6 in the nation. How many freaking data centers do we need? And why are we speckling them all over the entire state? So I'm going to play one more clip from this gentleman right here. And I wish I could play more of this, guys, because it's just wild to watch this. But, you know, we have to understand what we're talking about here. And I still can't wrap my mind around it. I'm waiting on somebody in the comments to enlighten me.
That is a bipartisan issue in D.C. You won't find anybody. Well, I'll take that.
And that's why I wanted to show that clip, by the way. If you look at where we're at, electrification of urban rural America, post-World War II industrial buildup, home appliances, indoor HVAC, telecommunications, computers and the internet, cell phones, GPS, reshoring of manufacturing, and data centers AI. So obviously, if you see the graph on the right, you see how we've kind of stonewalled for about 20 years electrically, but now we're fixing to shoot up to God knows what. And of course, hey, I'm not knocking American innovation. Maybe we can keep up with this, right? I don't know. But if you look at the rate of these centers being built and how they're being built at the moment, I can't see how anybody can keep up with this. Last I checked, we only had, 99 nuclear plants in America that were actually functional. We've been out of the nuclear business for God knows how long, and we understand. Oh, we've been building solar panels and wind farms and blah yada yada, but we see what happens in Texas in the winter with all this, and the detriment that these wind farms cause on the birds and just different agriculture. I mean, or habitats of wildlife. I mean, there's just so much here to unpack. Okay. So again, and I'm going to skim through the comments real quick just to see if I got. Well, yeah, we're getting some good comments. Thank you. But yeah, let me just go through here so we can all catch up together, because I'm fixing to go into where we're at with this in certain states, right? And then we'll kind of tie it all in with Georgia. So thank y'all, everybody, for being here. David, Mary, David Dake, Lisa. Our commissioners voted 3-2 in favor of the data centers, even when the people were begging them not to. So you got to understand, a lot of these commission boards, man, they are just doing what they are told to do. They have no idea, no concept of this. And a lot of these data centers, which I won't be able to prove to you tonight, but a lot of these data centers have so many incentives. They pay so much money out for the land, and they offer their county so much freaking money that it's like, just like, look, you let us put this data center in here. Don't worry about all the crap. Don't worry about all the power and the water. We'll take care of that. Don't even worry about it because we have a tax exemption. But we're going to give you this truckload of money, and all of these special projects that you wanted to do is at your fingertips. You just won the lottery for that data center. Well, I don't know about you, but if something is too good to be true, a lot of times it really is. Okay? Especially when nobody knows about these things, and when you can't even ask the questions to your local leaders because they don't know, and technically they really don't care. We have communities that are fighting back against this. And am I going to sit here and say that we don't need data centers for the technology we have? Absolutely not. But for God's sakes, like, what the hell is going on, people? We've got to ask some questions about this. So, oh, Mary Wright, Texas in the house. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I'm sure maybe you can share some insight in Texas, for God's sakes. There's articles about how people in Texas are having to ration their water, how they take showers because of these data centers sucking up millions and millions of gallons of water. So, Earl Klein, good to see you, sir. Thank you, Jeff Conley. Carol, thank you. Calvin's Corner, thank you. So let me get down to Sherry, thank you. Nikki says it's the race to control AI, but no one is asking if it's healthy for humans to be living on top of data centers. We're going to get to that in a minute, Nikki. Nikki knows very well about her environment, her communities being taken over by warehouses. And it's a good bet, Nikki, that what we didn't even know is that a lot of these warehouses could very well be data centers. That is plaguing your entire area down there. She puts data centers may cause electric and water prices to increase as well. It also comes down to supply and demand. They use massive amounts of water and power. Absolutely. Jeff says, I'm with you. Just what special purpose do these data centers serve? I know that you're working to get the answers. I really am. I'm trying to figure this out. Lisa says, 250,000 square foot data center varies widely, but could range from roughly 6.57 to 32.1 million gallons of water per year, enough to fill 10 to 49 Olympic-sized pools. So absolutely. Maxwell Britton, which is somebody that I want to bring. Maxwell, I want to bring you on the show. I've not forgot about you and what you're working on. Thank you for being here with us tonight. But awesome. We're going to get connected with Betty Eskew. And, Richard Schroeder said it's easy. The apartment houses the fighting age invaders. The data centers have the goods on the conservative patriots to lead misinformation indictments. The warehouses are holding cells for patriots. Hey, it's not just patriots, Richard. This is humanity at work. And good to see you, Antonio, coming in hot. Data centers are the foundation of the B system. Yeah, I did not plan this tonight. I wanted to get through those comments because I'm going through my next set. But man, it's so hot on my head because I am having conversations and I am talking to people and trying to get us. Let me put it this way: the video that I just showed you, and I can share. I can share the link with this gentleman right here, hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, the Seven Hills Rotary Club, and I cannot remember what the gentleman's name is. Let me pull it up. But this is worth a watch. Because, again, this is the closest information that I've been able to find about data centers, where they lay it out, and they lay it out exactly what it's for. And to me, it's more like a scare tactic. National security, just like paying your taxes or taking your COVID shot or anything else, you've got to do it for the good of the people. And if we don't do this, China's going to beat us. Well, let me tell you something. China's already way ahead of us, which makes me question how much they care about humanity in the first place. But again, it's imperative that anybody watches that video, because this is what is coming from the state of Georgia, the highest education systems, the University of Georgia. This guy's going around and he's preaching it. And your governor, I'm going to show you, wants to be the #1 state of data centers. Okay? He wants Georgia to be the #1 state. And I'm like, good God, what is going on here? So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and play some of the plagues first, and then we're going to go to Georgia. So let's just do just a couple of stuff. And like I said, more I'm digging, trying to find something positive, something good. Here we go.
Questions about increased energy demand in Ohio, with companies proposing these rate increases. Some are pointing to the growth of big tech as a strain on the grid. Across the country, data centers are being built to meet digital demands, and that includes here in Ohio. According to datacentermap.com, there are 5 data centers in Dayton and 1 in Springfield. To our east, Columbus houses 120 data centers.
120.
And in Cincinnati, that number is around 20. Up near Cleveland, the site reports 24. Right now, I am joined live by Dr. Shuang-Ye Wu, the chair of the University of Dayton's.
Did you hear how many data centers up in Ohio? Now, Virginia, I believe, is the #1 state. This is where everything started. Now, Virginia's got Langley. Virginia's got right there next to D.C. Virginia's over there next to the Pentagon. Virginia's up there, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying. Elon Musk is building one of these super huge things in Memphis, Tennessee, not terribly too far away. Virginia is being overrun, has been overrun by data centers. There's a lot of stuff going on. And even the UGA guy, has to admit that they're dealing with problems with this data center. But I just showed you Ohio that has in one spot 120 data centers in one spot, which is mind-blowing to me that nobody is seeming to ask the question, like, what is all this about? We've got to have this much storage? Now, that ranges in different sizes and different megawatts and different water. But again, from their own video from the AP, 400,000 EV cars for one large data center. And you saw 4 years ago, these things have turned into industrial huge complexes. We're talking about, 30,000 acres in Georgia. That has to ring some sort of alarm bell with you, because nobody's talking about it. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's go to the next one.
On Arizona's power supply, data centers popping up across the valley. They are huge drains on the grid.
It's causing electric companies to look at ways to quickly increase their ability to generate more power. Investigative reporter Morgan Lowe tells us there's an effort to protect residential customers from footing the bill.
We are living in a digital world, from cloud computing to online photo and video storage to video conferencing and AI. All of that information is living in a data center, and the Phoenix area is a hot zone for these hot new businesses.
Item 107 is a general plan amendment to establish policy guidance for data centers.
Last week, the issue took center stage at the Phoenix City Council.
We are concerned about the increasing intensity of impacts that the unchecked expansion of data centers are having on our city and state economy and small business community.
The council was considering whether to regulate where data centers can operate.
These can be the size of a neighborhood. The power demand on these things is severe.
And council members got an earful.
These facilities pose serious threats to our environment, infrastructure, and communities.
Data centers are big, and they use a lot of water and electricity. This single data center at 40th Street in the Loop 202 is 80 acres in size and requires its own electrical substation. There are about 140 of them in the Phoenix area, and dozens more are waiting in the wings.
Okay, 140 in the Phoenix area with dozens more waiting in the wings. Now, I want to remind everybody out there that in the big, beautiful bill, because Trump supports these data centers, obviously, we've got a big push of tech and AI and digital currency and all these things coming. It's not going anywhere. I need to remind you that in the big, beautiful bill, there was actually legislation in that bill that was going to put a 10-year moratorium on data centers that Marjorie Greene and I think Thomas Massey and several people blew the whistle on and said, we have to get this taken out. Basically a moratorium, and I didn't pull up the bill, but I've got it, that basically was going to be put in there where you couldn't say anything about it, you couldn't do anything about it, everything was going to be covered for as a moratorium in 10 years. Now, that sounds to me like there's somebody with a 10-year plan already down on paper saying we have got to implement this. Okay? So our government is well aware of what's going on. Has been for some time. But there you go, folks. It's not just Georgia. I've given you the numbers in Georgia. 156 in Georgia, 1 or 2 a month. 140 over here in Phoenix, Arizona. You got 100. What was it in Cincinnati, Ohio? And then we've got data centers built all over the place. So you see, everybody is like, how are we going to meet the demands? How are these things going to go? 80 acres of data center. To me, that's like the alarm bells. So again, let me go to the next one. Now this one's a little bit longer. This is called, we're not going to watch the whole thing, of course, because I think I'm getting the point across. But I do want to put the title up in here because, let me get that up here. It's called Amazon's Secret Plot to Build a Data Center, More Perfect Union. This was released not too long ago, but let's just, let me let this play for a minute.
In the first city to reject a massive data center proposal. And it only happened because of a huge community uprising.
The people who are paid to represent us are falling down on the job and just completely betraying us.
We are in a desert. We are in a 30-year drought. The math doesn't add up.
I have zero trust of whatever these people are telling us. They're saying they're going to reclaim water. They can't make water out of nothing. Can they make it rain? Maybe they can. I don't know.
I was on the ground to cover it day by day. I talked to residents, lawmakers, and lobbyists to tell the full David versus Goliath story of how one community took on Amazon and won. Let's dig into it. First, we have to rewind to day one when I landed in Tucson on a Monday afternoon.
It started with a town hall meeting.
These sessions are really propaganda sessions for the corporation. It's all just been people from the corporation, from Tucson Electric Power, and from Tucson Water to make the case to the public for why this is a good idea.
During a 2-hour session, some in the audience stood up to ask tough questions of the city and the company behind the project, Beale Infrastructure, a San Francisco-based corporation backed by Blue Owl, a $30 billion investment firm listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Upon completion, it would have had power capacity of 600 megawatts. That's enough to power every home in the city of Tucson.
Do you hear that?
The corporation is trying to secure a deal requiring
every home in the Tucson area. Now, I'm going to stop for like a time and on that video. It's an 11-minute video. It's worth a watch. And I'm not trying to cause panic here. I mean, this is not about causing panic or doom and gloom, but it's like when you've got things going on that's taking that much power and energy, and you've got investment firms that are coming in from other states. In Tucson, Arizona, if you go and watch that video, they were going to put this data center out in the middle of the desert, and they were going to have to pipe water into it from 18 miles away. Let that sink in. Strategically, they say they're strategically placing these things where they need them, blah, yada, yada. They're going to strategically bought this land, and they bought this land for a lot of money. Millions of dollars. They were going to try to pipe water into this facility 18 miles away. Now, I don't know about you. We've been in the land of water, where water's plenty. But, out in Las Vegas, basically, they've got to pipe their water in. There's a lot of water wars going on out there out west. But they were going to pipe water into these facilities from 18 miles away, and it was going to use enough power to power every home in the Tucson area. Again, make it make sense. Tell me that I'm blowing something out of proportion here. Tell me this is not something that we shouldn't be looking into when they're breathing down our neck as we speak in the state of Georgia. So I'm just gotta realize what's going on here. It's just, it doesn't look good to me. All right. So I'm gonna go back to some of the questions really quickly, because you know what, this is not a red or a blue issue. Screw the political parties. This is a humanity issue, and I am going to tie it in at the end. But Jan Weaver, good to have you, says Georgia Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 2, government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people, and at all times they have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require it. Now, Jan, that's a wonderful comment, but I think that I can put this together, that statement, that article in the Georgia Constitution is not being followed. Okay? Courtney Monroe says data centers are energy hogs, and Georgia can offer them some of the most competitive rates than other states. The state is heavily invested in natural gas and nuclear. I read somewhere we have the most aggressive tax exemption program for data centers. Ding, 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 Courtney Monroe. Thank you, because I have got that. I'm fixing to pull that up and show it to you. So, yeah, Lee Munns is out there. Christina doing wonderful stuff. Jan says legislative acts in violation of this Constitution or the Constitution of the U.S. are void. Well, folks, I hate to tell you this, but we're not living by our Constitution at all. I mean, our Constitution is been thrown down in the mud, and it is kicked around, and it's just a funny name. I swear to God, a lawmaker told me back in January that if you go down to the Capitol and you even mention the word Constitution, that your representatives laughing at you behind your back. They're laughing at you behind your back. And I believe that person who told me that. Maybe not every one of them. Maybe there's 2 or 3 that aren't laughing behind your back. But guess what? They laugh at you. We're so far out of whack. Lisa says, Debbie Dooley says Georgia needs to be the hub for data center. Yeah, I'd say it's a good. I ain't even going to touch that one. Like I don't even want. Debbie Dooley, good Lord. Okay. Some people you just can't take seriously. Nikki Lee says Hyundai and their massive water needs in South Georgia were red flagged to me. They may be doing more than making those little cars over there. That was a huge deal last year about Hyundai and the amount of water that they were going to use in the water tables. We didn't cover it near injustice, but the funny thing about it is, Nikki, is that as much attention as that got, I believe that could have been a great scapegoat for everybody to be paying attention to the Hyundai plants while nobody is paying attention to the data centers being built. 156 of them all over the state. Lisa says, when you question, you're automatically deemed the enemy. Of course I'm the enemy, right? I'm just a rabble-rouser. You know, our commissioners love to try to justify the need for them. I was told our decisions are final. If you don't like it, get an attorney. All you can do is sue. Excuse me again. In that video from Floyd County, there is a commissioner there who asks the question, how do I deal with my community? The ones that people are asking these questions. And I'm paraphrasing here. But he basically goes on to say, well, I just want you to know that I'm with you and I'm with Georgia Power and I get it, but I don't know how to handle the people that are coming to me asking me these questions. Well, let me tell you something, buddy. If you get it, then you should be able to know how to answer questions or handle the rabble-rousers in your county. And you went to the guy who was selling it to you, and the guy said, well, I mean, and he said, they're valid questions. They need to be answered. He didn't answer those questions. But he basically told them they need to do the research and answer the questions. So if you've got a commission board that's, of course he said that. And you know what? The funny thing is the questions the comment section cut off a little bit after that. So we didn't even get to hear anybody else in that room. We got to hear a couple of things. Of course, everybody in the power industry, they're all for it, right? Georgia Power, because guess what? They're going to make all this money. I was told that the ones building the 250,000 square foot data centers in South Whitfield are from Texas and Arizona. I questioned why they couldn't build them in their own states. I was told they would be paying a fourth of our taxes. They would be paying for their own power usage. Yeah. Okay. So, here we go. I'm going to move into the Georgia portion of this. And let's see, I think it was Courtney Monroe brought this up. So I ran across this article the other day, and I thought it was very interesting. And again, if anybody gets hurt feelings out there or they don't like this, bloody yada, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to throw anybody on the bus. I'm trying to understand this because guess what? We went through an entire legislative session in Georgia, and I never even thought about data centers. The only time that data centers came up on my radar this year is when I read Brian Kemp saying he wanted Georgia to be the #1 state to have data centers, and that they were planning a 30,000 acre complex in Metro Atlanta. And I was like, whoa, that's huge. We need to look into this. Lo and behold, 156 are already here, and not hardly any mention during the legislative session, or at least the rabble rousers in my neck. We weren't focused on these data centers. So I want to bring this up. Georgia lawmakers haven't slowed states' data centers. So this is Georgia, all right, from government technology. One bill aimed at increasing energy payments for new data centers did not reach the Senate floor, while another bill aimed at suspended data center tax breaks was vetoed by the governor. This was written on July 18th, 25. I will not read the whole thing, but again, we will go through this a little bit. Earlier this year, they took aim at the data centers. State legislators did take aim at the data centers flooding Georgia with a bill that would require them to pick up their energy tabs, sparking passionate debates about whether putting that into state law was necessary. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. Driving the debate is what's outside the window of Keisha Scott's Fayetteville home, a gigantic nearby data center campus. She's looking out the window and seeing these massive power lines hanging in front of my window. Scott's experience reflects growing frustrations in the rapid expansion of the facilities packed with rows upon rows of computer equipment powering artificial intelligence, cloud services, and the internet. State Senator Chuck Hufstetler's proposal requiring data centers to pay for their fair share of energy costs cleared the Senate Utilities Committee but fizzled out in the Rules Committee, never reaching the Senate. Ruhlman Chair Matt Brass and other opponents of the measure said it's the job of Georgia's Utility Regulatory Board, the PSC, to ensure customers are not picking up the tab for data centers. So now they're saying it's the PSC authority, and we don't, all right, we don't like it, quote, but we are not going to overturn what you're doing, said Brass, who voted against the measure. It wasn't the first time that they took aim. Last year, which would be 2024, the General Assembly narrowly passed a 2-year suspension on a lucrative tax break for the power-hungry facilities. Governor Brian Kemp vetoed the measure, saying it would undermine data center projects already underway. And of course, meanwhile, to keep up with the rapid growth, Georgia Power is planning massive infrastructure progress to serve the facilities. So they're building up, man. They're building up. Thank God, right? They're coming. At least Georgia Power is going to build up, whatever the crap that says. So then it goes on to talk about the PSC rule changes. And before voting in favor of the bill, State Senator Greg Dolezal remarked on the number of Georgia Power lobbyists talking to him about the bill. Quote, "You guys have a lot of lobbyists that work for you," he said, "and I've had more of them reach out to me within the past week saying, please don't pass this." There's a bunch of good stuff in this article. A bunch of good stuff. So naturally, that got me to thinking about the tax breaks. I'm like, okay, so what are we talking about tax breaks here? What are the tax breaks that got vetoed? They were trying to suspend the tax breaks. And so I looked it up. And here we go. Here we go. Georgia Data Center Sales and Use Tax Exemption Program, OCGA, symbol 48-8-3. In the state of Georgia, businesses building and or operating data centers may enjoy complete exemptions from state and local sales and use taxes on all high technology data center equipment. To qualify, business owners must prove to operate or be a consumer of high technology data centers, as well as meet minimum investment thresholds of between $25 million and $250 million, depending on the county. They must contribute at least 25 new quality jobs designed by Georgia legislator in a single county. 25 jobs. Or twice that figure statewide across 2 years. Blah, yada, yada. More importantly, the state of Georgia is unique that it may require certain businesses to post bond of up to $20 million upon application, which may be surrendered to the Department of Revenue if the minimum investment threshold cannot be met. So there you have it, folks. Tax exemption was vetoed by the governor. So what does that tell you? The governor is all in on data centers. Number one state to do business for data centers. And what does all this mean? You know, I don't know what all this means, but it does not seem good to me. Now, I'm having conversations on the side with people that are saying, look, data centers are a necessity. We had Angel Rosario on the show. He thinks data centers are a good thing. Am I sitting here telling you that a data center is not needed? I'm not telling you that. I understand technology and how it works and servers and all. I've built computers. I know that you have to have storage. But my God, why can't anybody come up with some sort of a number here? Everything points to we're going up to the sky with this. We have no idea, but we're going to have to ramp up everything because of national security, blah, yada, 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 yada. And now they're telling you that it is all about artificial intelligence. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Ray Kurzweil is, but he is a futurist, is what they call him. He makes predictions about the future, and we're talking about artificial intelligence being sentient, AI being sentient in the future, one world government. If you believe in the World Economic Forum and understand that these people want to enslave the masses, you will own nothing, you will be happy. Klaus Schwab, the whole kit and caboodle. You know that your Governor Brian Kemp's been to the World Economic Forum twice. You know now that Larry Fink is now temporarily running the from BlackRock, who owns everything, owns all the housing, owns the entire market, owns the finance companies that are financing these data centers. It's not painting a very good picture here, folks, for humanity. It doesn't paint a good picture to me. What it looks like is you've got the Mayberry with all the small businesses and the haircut in the bank, and then you have this super Walmart that moves in and destroys everything in that town, and everything is locked under the cloud in the Walmart. It's the same thing over again, right? The Industrial Revolution, brick and mortar. And now, guess what? I don't use the cloud. I don't want to use the cloud. I have been forced to use clouds to pull all of my data off the clouds, but there's going to get to a point where you won't have control of your data. You won't be able to store your data locally. Everything will have to go up into the cloud. It's all control. Everything, your digital self, everything that you do. Because there's going to be a data center on every corner, sucking up all of the oxygen in the room, sucking up the power and the water. Sure, I've heard they're working on cooling systems that'll be closed loop cooling systems, but right now it's not economic enough because it costs way too much money and blah yada yada. And that's 10 years down the road. Remember, I told you all that plan looked like it's a 10-year plan, right? I mean, we don't know enough about these things, and again, the numbers are astounding. I could go through so much more. Lee Munns had put one out about the data center web. It looks to me, tinfoil hat, like this is some sort of a hive mind, right? Maybe these data centers have to be spread out like a hive mind because we're going to combine them with 5G. You're going to combine them with all these different things for the Internet of Things, right? You'll no longer have a stove in your house that is just a stove. That stove is going to be able to talk to your refrigerator and talk to your television. And maybe you, the human walking battery, are going to be used as a 5G Wi-Fi signal, right? It's going to be bounced from all of these receptors in these data centers. I mean, I'm telling you guys, it just doesn't look good. So you got to think about this here because nobody is really telling us the truth. Nobody cares. They're building these things 1 or 2 a month. So I want to go into a couple of other little things here that I want to remind people. If you think that I'm crazy for questioning all this stuff, I want to show you this commercial. This was from 2021. This video got taken down because it was received so poorly from the World Economic Forum. But let's just take a blast in the past. This was posted the other night, thank goodness, from somebody just started following, Yvonne C. But again, if you think that if this is all hyperbole, I'm just making this up, or there's no reason to just question this stuff, I want to show you this video from 2021. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. The U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. A handful of countries will dominate. You won't die waiting for an organ donor. We won't transplant organs. We'll print new ones instead. You'll eat much less meat. An occasional treat, not a staple, for the good of the environment and our health. 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. We'll have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. Polluters will have to pay and emit carbon dioxide. There'll be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history. You could be preparing to go to Mars, which would be awesome. They'll have worked that out, how to keep you healthy in space, yada, yada, yada. And Western values will have been tested to the breaking point. Sound familiar? So anyway, that video was taken down, but I want to remind you of that video. That is the world that people in very, very high places have planned for you. Okay? Now, you can call it hyperbole or whatever you want to call it, but I mean, think about humanity with these massive data centers and the electricity they're going to be taking, the water, the resources they're going to be taking, all for the digital, artificial, intelligent revolution. Now, none of that involves humans. Now, obviously, we know that there is these same people that put these commercials out about owning nothing and be happy, their top priority is depopulation. They say there's way too many humans in the world, and we need to get rid of some. Well, I guess what better way than to starve them of the resources, taking agricultural land and putting these data centers all over them, taking away your water, the primary functions of life. And if you think that your air conditioning or your PlayStation or this podcast is more important with the electricity that we're using than the artificial intelligence, well, think again. Because, again, they're telling you that this revolution is coming and you better be prepared for it. Now, I don't know about you, but this is biblical to me. Not only is it biblical, but if you think about Neuralink and all these other things about putting chips in your brain and chips in your arm and having to salvage everything in human life, and the fact that our population is already on a decline worldwide. And one thing that video pointed out was about you'll be charged for emitting carbon. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video that China is 15 years ahead of us, and America knows it. So we have been suffering under whatever guise of climate change, blah, yada, yada, while China has been able to burn their cities into fogs, and you know we know their people doesn't matter to the communist China. They don't give a crap. We saw the things they did to them in COVID, how they live now. They don't care how many people die in that country. Well, what do you think this is painting for in the future of humanity here? We already have places like Canada that are testing out rules saying that if you go out into the woods, you can't even go out into the woods or you're going to get fined and put in jail, for God's sakes. And obviously our freedom of speech is under attack. And so there's one more video that I'm going to play that I got sent to me today that everybody needs to hear. And you guys know who Catherine Fitz is. But I'm going to play this whole video. It's only a couple of minutes, but I want you to hear what she has to say because this is very important.
So they created, after World War II and all the slush fund money they got from World War II, they created a mechanism to constantly replenish the covert money. But here's the big thing. When Bush came in during the Reagan years as vice president, his deal with the intelligence agencies was he gets to run, or with Reagan, was he gets to run the National Security Council and the intelligence agencies. He creates an executive order signed by the president, by Reagan, that corporations can do highly classified work. Now, let me tell you what that means. What that means is the Treasury can issue an infinite number of bonds and use that money to pay corporations to do highly secret things, including just gifting them all of the black technology funded by the taxpayers and moving it onto their balance sheet, and do it in a secret way that generates enormous profits in the stock market.
Wow.
Okay? So now you've got a way. Now, what's the number one source of campaign contributions?
Companies like this.
Capital gains.
Capital gains. Okay.
Capital gains. I have a stock. It's trading at a multiple of 20. I give you $1 million a year contract. That goes up by $20 million. Your stock goes up. That creates capital gains for the investors and the executives, who then turn around and they or their law firms make political contributions. It's a kickback system.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
So if you read my book, I have an online book called Dylan Reed and the Aristocracy of Stock Profits, and it was designed to explain to you how that kickback system works.
Right.
Because, and the quote we have at the beginning is an old New Jersey street saying, make a law, make a business. So every time the government does something that makes stocks go up, they get a kickback of campaign contributions from that.
Right.
And of course, the taxpayers funding the whole thing. Now, let's go back to corporations. Now I can transfer trillions of dollars of invaluable black technology into the corporations and fund them with taxpayers' money to own and develop it secretly and keep it away from FOIA. So you and I can put in a FOIA and we can't find it because it's behind the corporate veil.
Right. Now, one of the fears about this is that allegedly since the 50s when they started working on some of this stuff, is that it's gotten so advanced in these black corporate, or these black military industrial complex, aerospace corporations, whatever you want to call them, that they've become essentially more powerful than the U.S. military.
Correct.
Because of the technology that they have power up, they own.
Now, I can't say that it's more powerful than the U.S. military because they need the U.S. military to do a lot of what they're doing.
Well, essentially the way it was described to me is that these corporations or these organizations basically are so powerful and have such advanced technology that they have their own Air Force, their own military, their own Navy, everything.
Right. And we've had senators stand up and say this, but what I call them is a breakaway civilization.
Right.
They have broken away and they are so much more advanced. Now, if you look at their assets, what I would say, if I could assert jurisdiction, those are our assets. Those were either gifted or stolen. They belong to us.
Right.
But it's not corporations who have a lot of technology. It is a breakaway civilization, and they literally think of themselves as a separate civilization and not subject to our laws.
Separate from not only the United States, but probably.
So,
okay, so I thought that clip was very, very important. Because I'm going to tie this in together and we're going to get off here. We'll check comments. Breakaway civilizations. So this kind of tells you about these data centers. I've pointed out to you how their financial institutions own this, how these things are being funded, how they're being put in. We know that Georgia is being ran like a corporatocracy. And this covers politics because you have to understand the push for these things is a global push for securing our nation and being the number one of artificial intelligence. There's way more going on here than we know about. And the corporatocracy all around us, this is what's leading this. And so naturally, this breakaway civilization, what does that remind you of? It reminds you of a legislature, a state legislature that doesn't give a shit about you. Excuse my French. They're not caring about you. They're not designing laws that are pro-human, right? Pro-community, pro-family, pro-agriculture. They're designing laws for the corporatocracy of the state. Lots and lots of money to be made from all this stuff. All you got to do is just step right up and join us. Grab that seat at the table. Become a dually. Don't question this stuff because we're going to make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Just shut up and take the money, right? And the whole time we're peppering this entire state with data centers all over the place that are going to eat up our resources, something god awful. And what I honestly think, I mean, obviously, they would love for somebody like me just to shut my mouth and turn my other cheek and not ask these questions. He's a rabble rouser. He's an enemy of this state. So, more than likely they could try to kill me or whatever. I don't know. And don't even care. I've made my peace. But again, if you can understand that this is a huge corporate push, right? And it doesn't matter about Donald Trump because Donald Trump is trapped in this, whether you like it or not. I've told you this from when I started the podcast. No matter what's going on politically, whether it's elections, dominion, whether it's red versus blue, whether it's God knows what we're fighting, whether it's black versus white, this thing has been slow rolling the entire time. It has never stopped, and it's always been in the background, and it's being veiled. It's in the corporate veil, and it is upon us. So, do I have any answers for you? I don't have any answers for you. I'm trying to figure all of this out. But I can tell you one thing. If you think that this is pro-human, okay, and every single video that I showed you had the words artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not human intelligence. Okay? Artificial intelligence, a sentient being. It's like man trying to play God. Create the artificial intelligence. Create the one world religion. Create a world where you will own nothing and be happy. I'm sorry if that bothers you or you have to look away and just forget about it, but you need to understand, unless somebody can show me a better outlook, we're not going to be able to stop all of this, but we damn sure better try. So we have, let me go back to the original story that I started with to end on a good note, because right here, 6 p.m. Coweta commissioners hold a public meeting. So they've held meetings. I think there's several. There's 2 or 3 counties. Is it Monroe, Bill? I didn't get a chance to pull all that up. People are standing up, and they are talking to their commissioners. They are stopping these data centers. They're saying, no, we don't want them in our communities. I can't do anything about a 30,000-acre metro Atlanta industrial park. I'm not even against data centers that could possibly take an existing building in certain places and be guaranteed not to take all of these freaking resources, which hasn't happened yet. Apparently, they all got to be 150,000 acres big. But again, we need to be standing up as a community. We need to be going to our commissioners, talking to our civil servants, and telling them that we do not want these in the rural areas. Keep them out of the state. We do not want Georgia to become the #1 state of data centers, because unless somebody can show me how this leads to something positive for your family and your community, other than the fact that everybody's hooked like crack rock on TikTok and Facebook, which is rotting our brains to begin with, I can't see an ending to the story that's pro-human but very pro-artificial intelligence. And I don't know about you, but all of the sci-fi movies that we watch, artificial intelligence is a rather scary thing. It's not, it's not Iron Man's computer system what we all would like for it to be, right? And I do believe that in some ways Elon Musk wants to do things responsibly, but look, guys, Google's motto used to be, don't be evil. You don't believe me? You go look it up. Go to the internet, look it up. Their first motto ever, Google, Alphabet, their motto was don't be evil. That's super important, because it's not the technology, it's the people that control the technology. And the last time I checked, the devil is the controller of this world. And even though God ultimately wins, just understand that we're going into a technocratic revolution, and everything is going to change. And the more data centers they put in, and the more of this crap, that the more sentient that AI becomes, we're in for one heck of a ride. I don't know when we need to get off the ride, but I know one thing. I'm only going to go a certain distance before I get off this ride, because I'm not going to accept a future to where I'm going to be chipped and controlled and put into a bubble, or my body's going to be used as a human battery. I refuse to do that. And that's the world they're painting for us. So you just need to be aware. Do your own research on data centers. And this is just skimming the surface, man. This is just me going through, and I expect we'll have more on this. And if anybody tells you you're overblowing this issue, please let them know. If you just look at the numbers themselves, look at how many of these things are and how huge they are and what they're taking and who benefits. Well, the power companies benefit, and the government benefits, and artificial intelligence and the military-industrial complex, they benefit from it. What do humans benefit from it? And even in the state of Georgia, I showed you where they've got full tax exemptions. But the very, very few that will benefit from it might be your county, and they're going to throw you a crap ton of money and tell you, oh, go build all these wonderful projects, and you're gonna feel great because you got all this free money. And then 5 years down the road, what are these data centers going to look like? What are they going to be doing? How many more of them are there going to be? Because you can't get. There's not a finite answer. Well, we want 5,000 across the nation. No. They're building hundreds and hundreds of these things, and that is a scary thing. So, all right, I've already went over time. So I'm going to finish up the comments. Let's see, Jan says, I know they aren't, but we must keep educating citizens regarding the law, and maybe we can mobilize them to action. Maybe. I mean, honestly, we probably need to. I mean, we're not getting the answers that we're asking these questions, and they don't even know. The guy's graph just goes off into oblivion. Well, we don't even know, but we're planning for it. Jamie says, if new electric generation is needed, how about them paying that expense? Remember the huge over-budget expense of Plant Vogtle that significantly increased fixed costs for much of Georgia's citizens. Again, Jamie brings up a great point, Plant Vogtle. I know a lot about Plant Vogtle because I never worked there, but I know a lot of people that work there. That was a huge multi-billion-dollar project that was completely overblown. Jamie knows all about it. I know people that worked on it, billions of dollars in the hole to get these nuclear plants up and running. We've got nuclear plants close to us in Alabama that have never even been commissioned, never even been, how do you expect, I'm sorry, but it takes a couple years, 2 or 3 years to build these nuclear plants in the first place. How do we expect to keep this power demand built for the rate of these data centers being built? You understand? I can't see an even keel there. And I don't know everything about it, but again, when 2 plus 2 is supposed to equal 4, but it looks like 37, it doesn't make sense. And sue me for trying to make sense of this stuff. But Earl says, I promise you, if Brian Kemp voted for it, it's crooked. I mean, let's just face it. The governor is a globalist. He's a globalist. It doesn't matter whether he's red or blue. It doesn't matter that he can't stand the Republican Party. He's got his own, what do you call him? It doesn't matter. He is on the globalist agenda. Georgia has been on this globalist trajectory. And do I think that we've got enough representation? Do I know that the next governor of this state is going to do the opposite or actually listen? I don't know. Because God, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Maybe we should be asking these questions about, what about all these data centers? Like, explain it to me. But again, Jan says, what tax breaks is Kemp clamoring to give the deplorable? Zero. He serves corporations, ultimately anti-human. And notice about taxes, right? We've got the governor saying, vote, or the lieutenant saying, vote for me, we're going to get rid of your taxes. Now, everybody's talking about taxes. And Marjorie Greene's come out and said, eliminate property taxes. Hey, I'm all for it. So what does that mean, though? We're just going to sit here and focus on taxes, and then while the data centers just come in, like, I wish somebody would comment, somebody up above me would comment on data centers, or at least ask some questions, right? Everything in moderation. Yes, Moderation is a key. To me, this does not look like moderation at all. At all. Let's see here. Richard says we don't know enough about data centers, but we do know about our freedoms and our politicians. Yeah. Angel Rosario will slap a tariff on Walmart. We must keep the money within the community. Well, that's the problem. That's a no-brainer, Charles. I mean, it's a quid pro quo. The money will already be there. The community is going to get a crap ton of money for these things. Why are you giving out all this money up front? Because you're not going to get anything in return except for making AI more powerful. I mean, again, make it make sense. It's too good to be true. Maybe there's something wrong here. Go look at Virginia. Go do some research on Virginia and see what they're dealing with. Out in Texas, what they're dealing with. It says, not to mention the noise pollution, the wildlife will leave. How does this affect livestock? I mean, well, when you're putting these massive acre data centers, you got to have good flat land. You're not building them on mountains. What do you think you're doing? You're building them over agricultural. A lot of these facilities are being built from the ground up. They're not going into existing buildings. They're being built on agricultural land. That's taken up. I mean, less farmland equals less food, you know. Earl says they're all a part of the big club and we ain't in it. And we're not. We're not. Jamie says, love the Second Amendment. So do I. And I will die by my sword. And Richards reminding everybody about the Blue Ribbon election meeting in Clarksville. Need a good showing up there. Go out there and sign up for public comment. So, Jan says, what WF's UV Haral says there's a useless class and the vast majority of us aren't needed anymore. In fact, I have that clip, but because I'm overrun with time, yes. They believe that there is a useless class of useless leaders. If you don't believe me, go to my Twitter. Go to the link that I showed you with the World Economic Forum commercial and scroll down, and you will see that very clip that Jan is talking about. Just not going to be able to play it tonight because we're fixing to get off. So, anyway, folks, I hope that you got something out of this. Again, I want it to make sense. I'm having conversations right now with people, smart people, technological people who don't see it the way I see it necessarily. And maybe they see it, but they see a better humanity. I don't know. I just know that every time I think about these things and then I look at the numbers and I look at the when they tell me they're strategically being placed, whenever I see a data center that's going to require 18 miles of water to be pumped into it, or when I see the fact that, well, the technology is not caught up yet with a closed loop system and blah, yada, yada. It'll take a few years, but that's where they're going. What do you do with the stuff that you're burning now? If Georgia Power can't even get Plant Vogtle up and running, what makes you think that they're going to be able to meet the demand of this energy, all right, at the rate that these things are being built and pushed upon every corner of the state? What makes you think it's going to happen without you having to ration your showers or rolling blackouts or God knows what? And then at the end of this, what are we building this digital system for? Is this going to be a hive mind that we're all just going to be plugged into, just like a Matrix? Or there's so many movies that have been wrote about this. You know, where does this lead to? Are we just going to become human batteries that ping Wi-Fi symbols off of our mRNAs or whatever God knows they're going to try to put into us? It's something that you need to think about, and I hope you got something out of this. But that's it, guys. I mean, that's where we're at. And very concerning to me. We're going to keep following this. I'm going to continue to do my special report. I don't know when it'll be out. It'll go in a little more detail. And but that's it for Wednesday night, guys. I hope you guys have a great evening. Let me get that up. I hope you all have a great evening. I'll see you soon.
Hey, everybody. Small Town Underground here, and I'd like for you to check out libertylaughs.net. This is a website that supports grassroots patriots, and it has all kinds of stuff in it, like rings, coins, t-shirts, tank tops, both in men's and women's sizes, different sort of accessories, even patriotic stuff, like look at these sneakers, Don't Tread on Me sneakers. Those are pretty cool. And door knockers, and look, they even have a Trump phone case, which is really, really cool. So anytime you go to this site, you're actually supporting the Grassroots Patriot community. So I hope you guys will go to check out libertylaughs.net and see what they have to offer.